So I would like to welcome all of you to this roundtable discussion, which is part of our preparation for the 18th International Conference of the World Association for Sustainable Development. I do apologize as a start for some technical problems because we're trying to connect Professor Desai from India, Professor Gadzam from Nigeria, and Professor Alaali from Bahrain. And you can understand the complexity of all these connections at the same time. You all have witnessed the pandemic effect on all our life. We are all simply in lockdown now for the last 3 months, 4 months. China is already started its lockdown back in December. And this pandemic has affected our entire life. What we are going to discuss in this roundtable today is the impact of the coronavirus or the COVID-19 on higher education. How higher education institutions, universities, colleges, research institutions have been coping with this pandemic, with the close down and the lockdown, how they have been coping in terms of responding to the complete close down, and what are the policies and the strategies they will be in place for in the future so that they can continue to learn lessons from what we are witnessing now, and then they can take it forward. I am very pleased to have with me today, I have the privilege of having Professor Alaali from Bahrain, who is the president of Ahlia University in Bahrain. Professor Alaali is a very experienced academic. He is a professor of mathematics, and he has been in the University of Bahrain before he joined Ahlia University. Professor Alaali has a wealth of experience and knowledge in higher education. He has been the dean. He held in the past many senior positions in academic institutions. He has a wealth of experience in the United Kingdom, in the Arab countries, in the Gulf. So, Professor Alaali, I am very grateful for your time, and I really appreciate your time. And Professor, we have been discussing this offline and in the last few weeks. Universities worldwide has been severely affected by this pandemic because simply we cannot have physical face-to-face communication with our students. We can't communicate with the researchers. We don't have research grounds. We don't have meetings. We also, in the past, we used some of the students and the staff, they used to have the university at their home, actually. They only come to, they're not just coming there, having lectures and go, but they used to come, study, mix with others, communicate, network, and so on, socializing. And all these are issues we're going to discuss today. But what I would like you to start with, give us an overview of how this pandemic has affected higher education and how higher education in general, and I will come to Ahlia, your university, later, how higher education in general responded to this, if you like, environmental shock to the system. And more importantly, I would like you to address the question: do you see higher education institution generally, not necessarily in Bahrain or in Ahlia, have we been well prepared to deal with things like this, or we never had this in our mind? Because we are the academia, we are in the research, if you like, front line. We should have predicted some kind of this lockdown and how we will deal with it. So, Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I am very pleased to be on this panel. Thank you very much for inviting me, and pleased to meet the other panel members. I think this is a very, very important topic. I see higher education is of vital importance to the economy, vital importance to countries. Higher education is the future. So the question is, have we as higher education institution been prepared to pandemics like this? I don't think anybody was really prepared to this kind of lockdown and suspension of, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Professor Alam?
Yes, we hear you very well. Continue, okay. Professor.
All right. So this pandemic was, took the world by surprise, and higher education is no exception. Normally in organizations, people have risk management plans. So, and operations are in place to take care of risks that may arise, but nobody in their wildest dreams expected that such a pandemic will cause and will make governments do a complete lockdown and suspension of studies. Now, I think keeping universities open somehow is of extreme importance. We are teaching the future generations. We are teaching the future scientists, the future engineers. And nobody knows this kind of pandemic, when will it actually end? There are good signs now, but nobody really knows. So what the question is what to do. We are all used to the face-to-face teaching, the campus environment, which brings with it all aspects of life, friendship, exchange of views, seminars, meetings, discussions. So the university is really a way of life. Now, can this environment, which has been created over hundreds of years and has gradually advanced to this kind of social environment, scientific environment, strategic environment, research environment, can it be all of a sudden put on hold and it goes inside the computer system? Well, reality, it was scary at the beginning, but fortunately, we have discovered to our amazement that technology is there. Many packages and tools are available. There are universities, especially in the US, who have been operating the online teaching and learning for quite a while. We have all been put to the test. Now, our challenge was, how do we create a teaching and learning environment online? And what software is the best tool to use? And how are the faculty prepared to conduct online teaching and training? And are the students well prepared to receive this? Do the students have the mechanisms and the computing and the internet power to deal with this issue? All of a sudden, millions of students worldwide are using Microsoft Teams, Moodle, WebCT, Blackboard, Blue Button, Zoom. Many softwares are available. And really, we must thank and salute the technology people who have created this for us and who have made it possible. We have realized as higher education institutions that it is possible. And you have rightly said, Prof. Alaali, that the universities are the best testing bed, the best place to experiment, the best place to lead. We have to lead. Scientists and researchers should be at the forefront. And that's exactly what we did. We in Bahrain, for example, the suspension of studies was declared on the 24th of February. Believe it or not, on the 25th of February, we were online. And what we did was tell our faculty, okay, we are going to train you. We put a training program in place. They were very receptive and cooperative. We told the students, okay, now this is how you log in. We created support for them. I'm speaking on behalf of all universities, not just Ahlia. Now, how do we know that students are logged in? We use Microsoft Teams. We put the mechanism and the technical issues in place. Then how do we inform the students what's going on, apart from emails? We set up a special website page. We went heavy on social media use to pass the information and disseminate knowledge. And we created a call center where students can phone. All of this kind of operation went into movement very, very fast. Now, then obviously many questions have erupted or come up. Are we doing the right thing? Are we able to deliver the course material as we should? Are faculty confident to actually speak through a mic and a camera and deliver their lectures to students? Can we deliver the course notes? To our amazement, that the resilience and the flexibility of the students of the young generation and the faculty who are really researchers and scientists, we were really surprised that this has taken place very fast. And then we obviously other questions had to be to be put in place. The question, I think I want to go back to your question, was there any higher education institution well prepared and the risk management operations were well prepared to take care of this? Yes, we were prepared for the servers going down. Yes, we were prepared even if the campus is not operating and we moved to another kind of accommodation. All of these things were actually in place should they happen. But not in our wildest dreams we thought everything will be suspended and our lives and our future and our methods of working and our research will be highly dependent on information technology. Thank God the technology really has proved itself. And I think it's given us hope for any future pandemics and the experience that anything in the future, we are more or less ready. I think we need to consider this kind of experiment very well. We need to study it very well. At Ahlia, for example, we've already initiated a number of research papers. We have initiated a number of surveys to evaluate the whole process. I think, you may close a cafe for a few days or few weeks, and then, you lose money and some livelihoods might be affected. But I think closing a university is no less severe than closing a hospital. It's just as serious because that's looking after your health and this is looking after your wealth, your future. The two are hand in hand. And that's really what I have to say for a couple of minutes. I can comment later or I can expand now if you want.
Now, Professor, yes, thank you very much for this very comprehensive introduction. I know it's too early to evaluate what the success of what you have done in terms of responding to this crisis. But are there any early lessons learned? I mean, I'm talking about very early because we still locked down. Are there any early lessons learned? For example, I can tell you from my universities here, we can see that classes have been completed on time. We are in exams. We can see students are tuned into exam period and so on. So we can see an early sign. We have managed to teach them online and so on. If there's any early sign of success of your coping strategy, and also like our vice chancellors here and others are start talking about this pandemic actually created opportunities for us to think of them for next year. For example, universities are now thinking in the UK about, they have tried it, they have seen it by themselves. We were able to teach online. Why not for next year? We have two types of delivery. We will deliver full time and we will deliver online. So tell us what is the experience in Bahrain or in Ahlia, and maybe from what you hear in the region.
I think, first of all, there is a lot of experience built and a lot of fears were eliminated. There was a lot of fear how this will run. But I like the Chinese proverb that from every chaos, you should look for opportunity. I think this experiment or this experience or this event has taught us to be brave in the future, that we should experiment with things. And I think the whole success of any organization is if they are dynamic and if they are willing to experiment. It's a bit like a bicycle. If it stops, it will fall. There was some apprehension on the parent side. Oh, we are, what's going to happen? There was apprehension from the official side. There was worry, okay, how the well-being and the stress levels of students, how are we going to measure it? When the student comes to campus, he is observed by the advising and the counseling. He is observed by face-to-face, the body movements, the friends he or she makes. When students go in the background and they are working from their living room or attending a lecture in their kitchen or in their bedroom, then really you are distanced from them. And that is why what we did at Ahlia, I'll tell you what, maybe if it is wise here to mention our experience. You're talking about experience. As I said, what we did in the Senate or the University Council was, the first decision we took was, this is an unknown path. We're not sure how it will work. We set up what we called a steering committee chaired by the president. That's step number one. Step number two, we started revising the governance policies, the general governance policies of the organization of the university. Where do we have to adjust? Where do we have to, because policies were prepared and written for face-to-face and campus environment. The next thing we had to do was, okay, how do we know that the faculty are delivering the right lectures? How do we know that students are really attending? How do we? Then after a week and a half, we straight away created a survey for the students and a survey for the faculty. And that survey was carefully thought of. It was scientifically developed. We looked at all the online teaching and learning in the world, especially in the US. We explored those kind of research ideas and research directions. We developed the questionnaire and we fired it to the students. The results actually guided us into the next stage, where some points we were much better than we expected, and some other points were not as good. So what did we do? We automatically reacted to that kind of survey. We adjusted our operations. We created, for example, a long list of frequently asked questions. So any question, any student who calls the call center and asks a question, the people there have the answer written. We created a complaint mechanism where, and we channel the complaint to the right authority, and we tend to the students. From the survey also, we got our counseling directorate to take action to go and deal with these students who have concerns. All of this kind of apparatus, the mechanism started to work. And I'll tell you something which is very, very important, which I think might be worth mentioning. We had a meeting in the Higher Education Council, the presidents of the Higher Education Council. By that time, the local Higher Education Council in Bahrain did not have any kind of legislation or policy for online teaching and learning. From that meeting, the ball started rolling. And this is what I like about dynamism and management. So we were very happy that the Ministry of Education and the Higher Education Council were receptive to our ideas, and they were welcoming. So we went and then took the decision at the university, for example. This is very important. We said, okay, students, you can opt for one of two options. You can attend the courses, you do continuous assessments, and at the end, you get a pass or a fail, which doesn't change your GPA. If you're confident, then you opt for the exam and a grade. Surprisingly enough, and this is really a unique experiment and unique results, and I think they're worth publishing. Immediately after the first survey, and that a lot of people opted for pass and fail, they felt safe. They were in the safe zone, comfort zone. Oh, okay. I'm not going to be worried. Then after, I'll just finish this. And after the second survey and after online teaching and learning ran for a while, we allowed them again to make a choice, pass or fail or grades. We were surprised their confidence level built up, that a lot more of them chose to go for the grade option. And this should be reflected on.
Okay, Professor, let me check. I need to come to you on the technology side, because you are someone with a computer science background, and it's very useful to ask you this question. Great. Now, let me check. Professor Gadzama, can you hear me okay? Professor Gadzama, can you hear us okay? I think we still have this technical issue. Now, Professor Alaali, I would like to ask you this question, because you are someone with computer science background, and you have a wealth of experience in the UK and across the whole world. Now, were you, as someone who knows computer science very well, were you surprised about how much advancement we have, or how much we have in our universities worldwide, not just in Bahrain. We have all these technologies, this e-learning, everything was there because in my university is already there. They just used it. Were you surprised people across the whole world, they didn't know that how much they have, or they didn't appreciate what they have? Because it's two different fold here. Either we didn't know how much of technology we have on our campus so we can use and deploy, or we do know, or we did know, but we didn't appreciate how much these are extremely useful. Because here in the UK, for example, the government, the parliament, approach all universities to quickly sign up all professors, all researchers on the different fields they need expertise opinion on their for the parliament. So everything was done very quickly. It came through university, British Academy of Money, and then everything was there. So what was, I mean, particularly you are someone from computer science, were you surprised how much universities had, or were you surprised people didn't actually appreciate what they already have?
When I was doing my undergrad, they gave us a paper to read, which said, in 10 years from now, and that was in the 70s, there will be no need for programmers, that computers will think for themselves. 40 years later, I can see from the von Neumann machine days to today's 5G, the internet, the speed of the internet, the softwares, the apps available, the computer professionals, the technology companies, the cybersecurity. If you take this, it is really a treasure. It is wealth for humanity. And I think these technologists, these scientists of IT and information systems and artificial intelligence and networking have really, we must be thankful to them and we must salute them over these years. They have created for us a treasure, a wealth that is just out there for the use, for the taking. This kind of, we've all attended video conferencing before, one-to-one. We've all attended, some kind of little meetings here and there. But I think technology has surprised us to extreme limits. Even with the pandemic itself, it became a lifesaver where drones were sent to deliver things, or driverless cars, or it proved itself. And why am I arguing for this? Why am I arguing for this? Many years ago, when I was reading, the world spends on research on 5 important things: medicine, etc. In the 80s, for example, IT was one of the top 5 in research spending. I think it is wise now for governments to fund research further for IT and computer science and networking and cybersecurity and the internet. And there is already, again, in the 80s, since you've asked a question in this direction, a lot of research was conducted on what they call semantic web, where the web is not as we know it today, where you type something and it will pull some sites for you and it is for you to make the decision. The web will be semantic. You ask a question and it will formulate an answer for you from all kinds of sources. Now the question is like this: can we take a course material and auto-generate the lecturer? Can we auto-create the virtual? This might be a bit surprising to some people. It might. I think we should think in this direction. I think it is time for researchers to create what I call the virtual reality or the virtual professor. That means from the coursework, the professor will be created to deliver it, not the other way around.
Okay, I think that's very interesting. Yeah. And I think, Professor, just maybe to finish with the last question here for you. In terms of research, some people argue that in academia like yourself, they're saying this, one of the lessons people start to learn quickly from this pandemic is that we must cooperate globally because this is the only way forward. And the good example is now 80, they said 60 to 80 research lab across the whole world, including Oxford. They are working separately, not competing against each other, but as fast as they could or they can to get some kind of answer to vaccine or whatever it is. So, Professor, what do you expect in terms of the research and how we're going to run research, collaboration across the whole world and so on? This we all aimed in the past, but it didn't really, it has materialized, but we didn't really have that big opportunity to work together, for example. So what do you expect the opportunity?
I think humanity created something called budget. And
okay.
you are in business, so you know much more about it than I do. The budget means you have a ceiling. Now, government have the problem, well, where do they spend the money?
Excellent.
How do they divide the money? Within a university, there is that also, you know, where do you spend the money? Where is the priority? Money is always short. I think it is not possible really nowadays for one country to do it all. Time has proven that it is not possible for one country to do it all. It is not possible for one university to do it all. It is not possible for one company to do it all. Cooperation is the background, the backbone of the success of humanity. The more we cooperate, the more we find means of cooperation, the better. You know, I might get the brain from one country, the money from another country, and the environment from a third country. Together we can advance humanity. Our role as humans on this earth is to make humanity a good thing, is to help each other, is to support each other. It doesn't matter where you are a human being. You are in China, you are in America, you are in Bahrain, you are in Nigeria. If we can build the minds and the social structures and the psychology to accept one another and cooperate, of course we have to, having said that, reality on the ground that people invest hard-earned money to research into something which they hope they will build, which they will hope they will sell, and which they hope they'll make prosperity out of it. That is the case, and that's a human nature we can never change. However, what we need to change is that, as you mentioned, a research lab in any field. You can now, with this online technology, you can have researchers in different parts of the world cooperating. Now, academics have found avenues of showing their output of research. For example, we call them conferences, we call them journals, we call them published work. That's where people pour their output into this pool, but this is not a cooperation in terms of joint projects. I think what we should do is, you know, the United Nations, for example, focuses on gender equity. They focus on equal opportunity. I think, and they create budgets. Within countries, there is a focus on different aspects and division. I think it is up to the politicians, it is up to us as academics, it's up to the entrepreneurs to go and identify different people from different countries and pour money into and define priorities. Where are the priorities for humanity? You know, because, you know, from doing blue sky research, which is really strategic research, like going to Mars, this is strategic research. It's good for humanity. Nobody says it's bad. It's actually good that somebody is pouring the money into this project. But if you ask me today, as somebody in the academic field, as a president of a university, I will tell you, I think there is a fear of future pandemics coming along our way, like future storms. I think we should have a global conference. Maybe the United Nations should make an assembly. We should decide to put money and go and research into this. For example, online teaching and learning. This is a priority. Everything is a priority, but this is right now, this is at the top. just as it's so important to fund money to research for a vaccine for the coronavirus. Yes.
Now, Professor, this is let me ask you this question. Very good intervention. This issue of unequal distribution of benefits, if you like. Bahrain is known, it is one of the leading countries in ICT. World Bank is saying that. Now, to what extent you can see this question now from Alaali said, I think the main difficulty facing the distant education is the weakness of telecommunication infrastructure, particularly in developing countries like Sudan, as an example. In Sudan, for example, this, Be Life, we couldn't get connected with someone there. So where do you think, as we want to solve global problems, this is a problem? Telecommunication infrastructure is not equally the same across the whole world. Is that because, would this be an opportunity for you to make an urgent call for all countries to really invest on infrastructure relating to telecommunication? And because without investing on these telecommunication services, you will not get the benefit of this, what we're doing now. So what do you think about this uneven distribution of benefit, because we are not the same in telecommunication services?
I think, I'll give you, for example, here in Bahrain, the telecoms companies, they immediately reacted to increasing the bandwidth, reducing the rent of the cost of the internet. Excuse me a minute. Yeah, the local telecoms companies in Bahrain, they reacted by reducing the internet bills, supporting the people who don't have strong internet or cannot afford very speedy or fast internet. I think the same thing should be applied. Here, the government of Bahrain, for example, put a lot of money to support businesses, put a lot of money to support individuals, where really it's so good that we never felt the difference. I think the one amount was 4.3 billion dinars, which is more than $10 billion. Now, that concept, that human concept, if we apply it worldwide, if we set up the budget, there might be many brains in Sudan which we are not utilizing. I think, we have a famous saying.
Actually, in fact, sorry to interrupt you, while you're saying that, someone has already mentioned that. Yeah, it's just coincidentally, this is exactly what this Ghassan is saying. This hurdle prevents Sudanese university and education institution from such distant learning and the benefit. Yeah, continue, Professor. Yes, continue.
Yeah, we used to call it distance learning. I think with this technology, I prefer to call it online teaching and learning.
Yes.
It is not distant. I can see you as close as possible. It's not distant, it is online. And there is a difference. Distance learning means something different. I think I totally agree that the rich should help the poor. Those who have should help those who don't have. And we have to be careful. There is a saying we have, if the fire is in your neighbor's house, then it will come to you. So it is wise to keep your neighbor happy and safe.
Yes, okay.
It is wise to help countries who are now, maybe in the future, they'll be better than us. We have to set an example. And we know that some countries, especially Gulf countries, they help a lot. They give a lot to countries who are less fortunate. But I think should be discussed. Like we say there is 2.5% zakat, which goes for certain purposes. I think we should, the United Nations should discuss these things. And who said there should be a poor or hungry child? Who said there should be a child somewhere in Africa or anywhere in the world who cannot enjoy a laptop and enjoy the internet? Or who said there is a child who is sitting in a village somewhere who doesn't have any school within miles? We cannot give them the internet and a laptop and we teach them online. One day they become something. If you have the time, I can tell you many stories where, you know, if you help now, it will come, somebody will help you later. I am a true believer in humanity. I am a true believer in supporting the needy. I am a true believer in that humanity is one unit. And you know the saying, it's like the body. If one part complains, the whole body complains.
I think, Professor Ahlia, this comes with the same line with what you mentioned. This is Ahmed said, we are at need not only for strong infrastructure, but also for institutional mindset. This is what you were talking about. Through conductive policies, our conducive policies, and education opening. Let me see the real challenge. The challenge of credibility, quality, and recognition, current situation of not accepting online. Yes. Now, this is a good question. I actually came. I was thinking to ask this question, but I was just trying to get down on. Now, in the past, many countries, I can name many of them, including Jordan, Sudan, UAE, many countries, they did not accept what we do here in the UK as what we call it, the kind of distant learning or online teaching, and they insist the student they have to spend at least 1/3 of the degree in the country where they have to study. I mean, I have seen this for many countries: Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Jordan, UAE, many countries. So unless you really study 1/3 of, some of them they ask more than 1/3, but let's go with 1/3, 30% at least of the curriculum has to be taught in classrooms, say in the UK or somewhere. Now, to what extent do you see this pandemic and what we have seen and we have managed to deliver in terms of teaching will help to change this mindset? Because the question before, or the comment from Ahmed, is about mindset. Will help people in these countries in higher education to change the mindset that this kind of teaching or these e-learning platforms are as good as or as equal as face-to-face. Of course, each one got merit. To what extent this will help, and to what extent you think you can actually, you as Vice Chancellor and others like yourself, maybe to try to quickly come together and push for changing policy across the whole world, not just necessarily in Arab countries or in Africa, because this is affecting many countries. So what do you think of this opportunity or this question about quality, reliability, and mindset acceptance of a degree not delivered in the face-to-face?
I think by nature, we are all fearful of what we don't know. So countries who have not built the experience yet of online teaching and learning are fearful for their future generation. And this is understandable. This is understandable. And sometimes it appears safer to go a step at a time. This is now a great opportunity. What we have learned from this pandemic, what we have learned from this online teaching and learning, even within Ahlia, we have built a lot of experience. These surveys, these analyses we are doing, they're showing us what is possible and what are the things to watch out for. You see, we've been, as I said at the very beginning, we've been conducting higher education face-to-face in that campus environment for a long time. And you remember that one famous speaker in a commencement in the United States, I loved what he said. He said, you know, the car over the last 100 years has changed so much. The furniture has changed so much. The airplanes everything has changed so much. And he said, but the classroom has not changed.
Yes.
The concept of a classroom for more than 100 years, it's exactly the same. That is not progress. That's not progress if we cannot, you know, universities are always seen as agents for change. We are the beacons of change. Now, I know nobody wants to go through a very big risk and find out later they've made many mistakes. But I think what we can do is go a step at a time. I'll give you, for example, in the Higher Education Council in Bahrain, 2 years ago, they sent us some kind of a policy. They were inside that policy for postgraduate studies. They did write up to 50% can be online for postgraduate. Now, obviously that's still going through for approval, but maybe we can do increase the percentage. So I think it is wise, if you like, we have research centers for milk, and we have research centers for potatoes, and we have research centers for many things in life. I think it is wise to right now, every country should establish what I would call an online teaching and learning research center, which will look at all the results, all the experiments, and try to move, slowly but surely, move forward within each program, maybe identify 10, 15% to start with, maybe after 2 years, make it 30%. Nobody is saying go and rush it and all of a sudden turn the tap on. I think it is wise to set up research centers focused on these kind of experiments, and we should study them, discuss them, and move forward in that direction. I think I'll tell you something very simple. What we've realized. There is a lot of money to be saved from online teaching and learning. If you just count, if you measure the money of petrol money that all these students spend for their cars, and the cost of cars, if you measure the carbon monoxide reduction in the environment, there is a lot of benefits out of this online, which is beyond the actual teaching and learning. It's to do with health, it's to do with wealth. There is a lot of money to be saved, even when it comes to clothes. You don't have to go every day and buy clothes. You're going and tired.
But these are very good points, Professor. Very good points. Let me ask you maybe what was my final question, and quite important to ask you this question. Few years ago, I think 2 years now, in the UK, the higher education or the ministry which is responsible for higher education, they have decided that universities should not just be evaluated purely on the REF exercise, which is the research exercise, which you are very well aware about it. But they introduced another measurement of evaluating universities, which is teaching. So teaching has become heavily now rigorously being evaluated and so on. But most importantly, I'm sure you have this in Bahrain and others, we have now been judged in the last few years quite rigorously on our impact in the community. So the university impact within its community is become highly, if you like, appreciated and highly measured now. And that leads me to the question, but to give you the example, my university is London now. The university, one of the campus where the vice chancellor, that campus where the vice chancellor actually reside, is next door to this big hospital you might heard about it, the Notting Hill Hospital, which is simply, it was an exhibition center converted temporarily for a big hospital to cope with this pandemic. So what the vice chancellor did, she offered lots of support. So she opened her campus or our campus accommodation for nurses to stay on the university campus. The students from our medical school, they have been sent to help professors, anything. So our engagement with this project, which is temporary project, no one ever thought about it. So the part of the university is now completely tense to help this hospital and so on. So I am sure in Bahrain and others, you have similar example. But how, as the vice chancellor or the president, how, if you like, how important do you consider your university's role in the community? And what if there are any examples to give to us? Because I have another example also from the Sudan University of Science and Technology. The students, they open their labs, they start creating sanitizers, masks, everything they did. So the university simply start working as a factory to help in the country's fight against this pandemic. So what did you do, or what did your students or your staff did, or you are doing? And if there is any good striking example from other parts of the region, you can bring it to our attention.
Yeah, I really like this question, because we always say that universities are based on 3 pillars: teaching, research, and community engagement. We are in universities, we are graduating generations, And we must instill in this generation the community involvement. We say to them, we say to our students, love your leadership, love your country, love your society, love yourself. We teach them ethics. We teach them ethics. A special course in every undergraduate program talks about ethics in their profession. Why? Because we are teachers. We are teachers. That's what our role is. Universities don't have too much money to give, but primarily we are teachers. We give to society good, well-groomed human beings who are willing to contribute. And even in our promotions of our faculty, if you don't have community engagement, you don't get promoted. This is a way of saying it is of extreme importance. Now, for example, what we did at Ahlia, because of this, thank God, Bahrain, because of His Majesty, the King, order to give, to provide such a large amount of money to support all aspects of life. Even the last thing they did was what they call support for very, very tiny businesses of, extremely small. Money was given. So what we did, for example, at Ahlia, as an example, what we did was students who are struggling economically, we gave them discounts. We gave discounts. That's our contribution. Students with special needs, we give them discount. Orphans, we give them 50% discount. This is our contribution to our community. I'm sure this is one way of doing it. Plus, we are teaching society how to deal with this pandemic wherever we can in our in any way possible.
And help. Now, I got this one. I don't know if it's correct, but this Bakri Abdel Latif said schools and universities in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia adopted fully online digital teaching. And then Sheer said Ahlia University have offered a 50% discount to frontline workers and their children. Excellent. And when we have seen this one, and we're going to have one of the discussion about the frontline workers, about
if I can just stop you on that one, please, Prof. Allah. Can I stop you on that one? Actually, it skipped my mind. There's one thing Ahlia did which was really unique in the world, even. Not just unique in Bahrain, not unique in the region, unique in the world. It was highly appreciated by society at large. We got many good calls about it. I just forgot to say that what Ahlia did was to give 50% reduction in the fees for all frontline workers and their children of medical workers, people who work in the medical field, children of the police, of the army, all the people who are in the front line. Ahlia decided
that's very good, and I wish all universities they follow the same like what you did, really.
To them and to their children. That is really unique thing that Ahlia, and should be highly commended for it.
Okay, now earlier we have this from Janet Snow. Janet said the same like what you said, Professor. She said, I know it's a long text here, you can't read it all, but what she says, before the pandemic, did any of us truly notice those who are now being heralded as heroes, our key workers, cleaners, and so on? And I think this might be an opportunity for us to send this message to everyone, that those people who we didn't realize how important in our society, they were not highly respected, highly regarded. Now in the UK, every Saturday people start uploading those from the NHS, but we truly and seriously talking about drivers of vans, drivers of ambulance cars, cleaners, all these people, they really have shown here in the UK how useful and critical to human nature these people have been. They have been very supportive. We suddenly start to understand how the driver of the ambulances, for example, are the first people who will face this pandemic, because when they come to the house to collect someone to take him or her to the hospital, they are the first people in the front line. So what Janet was arguing earlier when she was talking to me about this one of the roundtable, she said she hoped after this pandemic is cleared and we are hopefully back to our normal life, we can still continue to have the new mindset of appreciating and supporting and giving as the privilege and the status these people they deserve?
I think I totally agree with you. And this is why Ahlia did exactly that. It is an appreciation. This is a material, a material appreciation, appreciation of real substance. We did not just say upload them, which is also worthwhile doing. Uploading them and thanking them is good. But this is a material appreciation of substance. We are telling them, you are there risking your lives. You are there working at all these hours and odd hours. You are there risking your family's lives by, being in the forefront with this pandemic. We appreciate you. This is our contribution. I wish everybody thinks that way. That's on the one side. Unfortunately, us human beings forget very fast, which could be good or bad. We should not forget these people. We should invest in them. We should upload them. We should thank them. We should give them the right environment. I'll tell you why. Because, nothing more important than a nurse and a doctor when somebody is sick. Nothing is more. So they are there when you need them. So we need to invest for a reason also, to encourage the younger generation to go and they want to be a nurse. They want to be an ambulance man. They want to be, a medical doctor, because sometimes these people give me the impression they're like the candle which is burning itself to light up to other people. So I think we should give them special place on TV programs. We should give them special place in our hearts. We should write to them. We should publicize them, and we should also fund them a little bit more. They are worth every pound, every dollar we give them. When our children are sick, they are the saviors after God. They are working in the forefront. They deal with us in our old age when we are, geriatric. They deal with us when we were first born. And I think they deal with us when we are helpless and sick. And all of us have had sick people. And I will really argue from today till tomorrow that we should clap for them. But that is, one only moral support. But we should think of other types of support for these really genuine people who give to humanity.
Professor, I think there is not going to be any better conclusion or concluding remark than what you have just said. Thank you very, very much. And I think it is the same conclusion. Our health secretary here, he said the same. He said exactly that was the same. The core of the crux of his talk was, we are now have learned lessons about how to appreciate those group of people, how to support them, how to help them, how to understand better what they have been going through, because their salary, their status, and so on. And I think, thank you very, very much. Thank you for your time. And I do apologize for these technical problems we had. As you can expect, I'm sure people will appreciate, there isn't much we could do. We're trying our best to connect people. Most of the time it works, because I think there is reasonably, every country, we have a reasonable infrastructure to allow people to go live and broadcast, but sometimes it wouldn't work. And again, this can also re-emphasize the importance of all of us in academia, particularly people like yourself, Professor, the Vice Chancellor, President, who can have much more influence in policymakers, is to get the countries to invest more on ICT, because the least to say, now we can communicate. Our parliament here, everywhere, even in African countries, in Middle East, they are connecting through these technologies, because this is the era of information, of digital transformation, and we will have lots of talk on this one. And again, it varies. I mean, now so far we have seen good connectivity from San Lucia the other day. We had good connection from Saudi Arabia. We had a little bit of a struggle 2 days ago from Oman. India was working fine, and so on. We just keep witnessing that. In UK, we never had a problem. This is another thing. You can see it. In the UK, in the US, we never had any experience of connectivity problem, which can give you the indicator that ICT is become, because the World Bank is saying country's development status is now being measured by the quality of their higher education. But the quality of higher education is very much now linked to the ICT infrastructure in the country. And I think that's very important. Thank you very much, Professor. We will definitely, Mervin will do his best to try to clear all these technical issues, and we will put this video together so people can benefit from it. Thank you very much, Professor, and all the best. And thank you to all those with you in Bahrain, the university, and just keep this good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Allam. I appreciate this meeting, and you met me 2 years ago in my office, and you asked me. I love your questions, and I like.
I wish we had a good time to ask you more questions, but thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So please remember, if we all help and do a little bit, it will make a big difference.